says it's connected, but it won't bring up anything.
All right, it is 1 o'clock. We are going to get started here in just a few minutes here on X's
Limited
and Omar.
access. It should still work.
You are hearing us right now. We are getting you ready for, man, what better be a better performance, huh? Wow. Omar's back London.
Goodness gracious, this wind is going to be a problem. No.
We've already broken a light because of the wind. We're going to lose the tablecloth at some point.
Okay, good.
It's just slow.
Good.
Okay.
So are you ready?
Hold on 1 second. Let me send out a link just in case people did not see the link the first 15 times I sent it.
Do you need my headphones at all?
Okay. X and Omar launches now.
If you're new to the show and you're watching us right now, we are about to get started.
Oh,
If you send us questions live during the show, we will answer them in X's and Omar overtime. Ooh, getting a lot of questions right now. People seem to be upset
About what?
how bad the Dolphins are.
We can flip the entire table. It's not the sponsor look, but it's
Put their backs more which way?
this way so that you're blocking them with your back instead of the wind how it is kind of down.
I mean,
I feel like the wind's going this way.
I think it's 102. I think we can probably go with what we got.
Yeah.
all right. Hold on. Let me queue up the questions and then we'll.
If you want to do one thing, Omar,
What's that?
switch the mic to your tie
To my tie.
because the jacket will come out just a little bit more and will block the wind just a little bit.
Okay.
Not a lot, but just a little
Oh,
bit.
oops.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
That's a veteran move right there.
I've been there, done that.
Okay. So the jacket will.
And just, I mean, not
We
a
could
lot.
ask that guy if he's got a pocket. Damn it.
I think we should go.
All right, let's rock.
You ready?
Yes.
Hold on. Damn it, Sandy, no staple. My paper's gonna fly. Okay. All right. Let's rock.
Welcome to the Week 5 edition of X's and Omar presented by Gulfstream Park. We are live here at beautiful Hallandale Beach.
Windy Hallandale Beach.
Beautiful though, right? This is a really nice day.
It is absolutely beautiful. The horse races will begin at 12:15.
We're nearly off and running. Can you feel the excitement?
We can feel the excitement. We wish that the Dolphins could feel the same thing, but unfortunately they are not, because for back-to-back weeks they have been the most embarrassing team in the NFL. This
Shameful.
one, a shutout. Really, they should have been shut out back-to-back weeks. This past week, Dolphins offense produced just 186 yards. Miami committed 11 penalties, and Jay Cutler was sacked 4 times. First shutout since 2013, Omar. Was it as bad as it looked?
It was, just because everything that they tried to do wasn't effective from an offensive standpoint. To me, the problems begin and end with the offensive line. If you can't open up holes, your run game isn't existent. If your run game isn't existent, your play action passing game isn't going to work. And then by the time you're at the end of the game and you're trailing, all defenses are going to do is pin their ears back and hunt the quarterback, and that's what leads to 4 sacks. So last year we talked about the Unicorns. We praised them for the season's turnaround. Well, right now the offensive line is serving as the anchor that's holding this team back.
This has been, there was the side that was supposed to be a lot of excitement, this offensive side. Adam Gase, offensive genius. To me, one of the worst parts about these 2 losses have been the fact they've struggled in the first half, and then it didn't seem like there were any adjustments that came out even worse in the second half.
You know, I think when you start to compress all your issues and you start to tighten up and you start to play tighter, you start to play more desperate, that's really what's been happening. When you're out, you know, we talked about this. When you're having an identity issue in terms of you want to be a run-based, play-action, passing offense, and you can't run, well, who are you now?
Right.
you're just a bad offense. And I think that those are issues that Adam Gase has to address. He's got to figure it out. I think he's got to figure out how to open up the passing game with Jay Cutler. You know, you made Jay Cutler look like a decent quarterback by reining him in and sort of keeping him on a leash when he was in Chicago. But right now, it's time to take him off that leash and see what can be the potential for this offense.
Well, lots of traveling for the Dolphins. Thankfully, that's all at least over with for the time being. They are home this week. This is all about, though, this show is about you and your questions. You can send us your questions right now, live during the show. We will answer them after at X's and Omar overtime. But for now, let's take some of the questions that we have received from you this week, as long as we don't blow away here. Our question from PDD. Honestly, why is this offense so bad? They have playmakers. Thoughts on how defenses are playing around them?
To me, it starts with the offensive line. You're not getting good play from the interior of the offensive line. Anthony Steen and Jesse Davis are sharing those center snaps. Sharing those guard snaps at left guard. Jermon Bushrod is not playing up to the level that he was playing last year. And then Mike Pouncey, we know him as a Pro Bowl center, but you're not getting that kind of performance. And then Jawan James and Laramie Tunsil, they haven't exactly been pillars of granite as those left tackle spots. So to me, it starts and ends with the offensive line. They've got to do a better job creating surge at the line of scrimmage, and they've got to do a better job of protecting Jay Cutler.
Did we underestimate what the loss of the leadership qualities of not just Brandon Albert, but also maybe Ryan Tannehill would do for this team?
That's a tough question, because I'm not going to sit here and say that Jay Cutler's a leader. He's kind of got a laissez-faire attitude. Right. He's not going to go challenge guys. Neither would Ryan, to be honest with you. But Ryan always held himself accountable. And I'm not necessarily sure that Jay Cutler's sitting here holding himself accountable. That's on me. That's my bad. Let's rally. Let's get back. Brandon Albert, I can tell you, no doubt about it, to me, his presence is missing. Mike Pouncey is there, but he's also got to step it up in terms of performance and leadership. But, yeah, should they be better as an offensive line? Should they be better as an offensive unit because they've got leaders on that team? Absolutely. Are they? No, not right now.
All right, let's take our next Twitter question. It comes from CT. You think this team will break the record for lowest ever point total in the NFL in history?
No. I think they can potentially break the record for lowest point total within maybe a 3 or 4 stretch game span, because I'm not sure that this problem gets addressed tomorrow. Right. I'm not sure that there's an instant add this player and it's a fix. I think this is a problem when you're having these identity issues. It takes a little minute for you to really address them and figure out what's going wrong. But that 2017 that I covered with John Beck as your quarterback or Cleo Lemon, your preference. Sure. With Greg Camarillo as the savior that helped you produce that one win in overtime against the Baltimore Ravens. That to me was pretty much the worst team that I've seen in Dolphins history. But this offense, it checks in right under there.
Wow. But it's only 3 games in. So the next question from DJ Image is Adam Gase doing too much of the play calling by himself? Should he let an assistant call the plays instead?
I disagree with that from that standpoint. If you want to be the man, the guy with the big salary as a head coach, even though coach, I'm sure Adam Gase is making $4 million at least, it comes with a lot of responsibility. And if you feel more comfortable being the one that calls the plays, if this is how you got here into the NFL to become a head coach, then you go ahead and do it. I think he understands what's going on with his team, and he knows the matchups that are there. And so why not be the play caller that can help your team exploit those matchups? To me, it's not so much an issue of play calling, it's an issue of concepts. It's an issue of schemes. It's an issue of formations. It's an issue of personnel. It's an issue of talent. It's an issue of execution. Play calling, it is what it is. If you call an outside zone run and your guard is getting blown up in the backfield, how is that play calling? Right. If you call a fade to your tight end and your quarterback throws it early off his back foot and your tight end doesn't even look for the ball, how's that play calling? To me, there's one thing that I don't criticize. I've done this for 17 years, and I don't criticize play calling because in the end, these coaches know way more than we do. They know more about the matchups. They know more about the personnel. They know more about the defense schemes based on this situations. They know a team's down and distance here at 3rd and 2 inside the 30. They know what they call. Why am I going to be the one who's going to sit here and say, oh, that's a bad play? It's great to Monday morning quarterback, but you weren't complaining when they were in the playoffs and got to 10 wins. Play calling wasn't an issue then.
Do you feel like, and I know they're not going to say this because they don't want to use this as an excuse, but the fact that they've already traveled more this season than most teams will travel in the entire year, the fact that they had the miserable first game the move to later in the season, the fact that they had to spend a week in LA, the fact that they had to turn around, go back on the road, the fact that they came back and then had to go to London, is that wearing on them? And if you were Adam Gase, would you say, all right, guys, we're restarting the season today?
Yes and yes. I'll give you a perfect example. I've done the 16,000 miles that the Miami Dolphins have done. Do you know that for the last 2 days I've woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Right.
And it's just because my internal body clock is completely off. You can't send me out to the West Coast and then send me to London in a span of 3 weeks and think it's not going to disrupt me and my body and my time. My eating is off, my body is off. It's a challenge. And for anybody who thinks that the Dolphins have not endured probably the most difficult fourth quarter of the NFL, bye in the first week, West Coast trip for a week, New York the next week, then go all the way to London, playing a game on basically in 2 days, basically traveling there, practicing, resting for 1 day, and then playing a game at literally what's in your body is 9 o'clock in the morning. It is a challenge. Now it's over, so it can't be used as an excuse, but yes, this is the point in the season where I actually begin the season.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Yes, you can't use excuses, and this was a big challenge, and basically the Dolphins failed it. When it comes to week 2 and week 3, they failed in these 2 challenges.
Yes.
But there's still time to pick up their year. Which brings us, of course, to what's going on this week as the Dolphins take on the Tennessee Titans here at home. This is Exodus and Omar, presented by Gulfstream Park. We are live here at a windy Hallandale Beach. There is horse racing going on today, and there is, of course, plenty of great places here to eat here at Gulfstream Park. There's Brio, Three Forks, all sorts of incredible places that you can come eat lunch, and you can come enjoy, watch our show here live every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Let's talk about Cutler, though, first.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of people that have watched Jay, and he has looked kind of a mess the past 2 weeks. An 80-point
The offense has looked a mess.
Yeah,
but
and
continue.
he's the leader of the offense as the quarterback. And
Okay.
a lot of it falls on him. We were impressed with Jay before the season started. Why is it not translating right now?
I think that there's a difference with the quarterback when teams actually start beginning to hit you. And it probably messes up your timing a little bit, speeds up everything and into your eternal clock. And to me, I think they're being way more conservative than they need to be with Jay Cutler. Unless there's something wrong with Jay Cutler's arm that I don't know about, the Dolphins should be throwing 15-yard outs. The Dolphins should be throwing deep digs. We should be getting 9 routes built off the play-action passing game. And that's just not happening so far, and it's not being called. Now, there's been a steady diet of wide receiver screens, running back screens that have been ineffective. Maybe it's time to scrap those things. But is Jay Cutler performing well? Absolutely not. But does he have the potential to turn it around and be a good execute this offense properly? I believe he does. I've watched Jay Cutler this is his 2nd month with the team, and I've been blown away by what he has in terms of raw talent, ability. I've watched him destroy this Dolphins defense, particularly the secondary, and it makes me wonder, either the secondary is really, really bad, or there's more there that you're not pulling out of him.
Am I reading too much into it? Almost feels like he's acting like a rookie, like he hasn't done this before. Last week against the Jets, he got hit a couple times, then at happy feet the rest of the game. This past week, he looked very sharp in that first drive until he threw that interception in the end zone, and then he never looked the same after that. Is he getting rattled?
I think that there's a possibility he's getting rattled. When you have an uncomfortable pocket, it makes you sort of speed up your progress. It makes you rush through things. And is he throwing bad throws off his back foot? Yes, but I watched him do that in practice, and it looked pretty good to me. I figured that was just who he was, because it didn't take pressure for him to throw the ball off his back foot. He just did it anyway because that's who he was. Are his mechanics, do they need to be worked out, ironed up a little bit? Absolutely. But let's not pretend like this isn't a quarterback that probably has the second best arm in Dolphin history. Yeah, he's a rental, but the arm is real. It's legit. And unless he's still battling with the shoulder injury that he had surgery for last year, I don't see any reason why you're not throwing more aggressive passes downfield.
Well, that brings us
unless you don't have protection.
Well, of course. And that brings us to the question that we've both been receiving for all week.
Yeah.
And it comes from Dolphins End Zone. Well, you're the lucky one. We'll take your tweet. At what point do they put Matt Moore in? Jay Cutler has no chemistry with this team.
I will admit that Jay Cutler doesn't have any chemistry with the team as games have begun for 3 weeks. We've seen some sort of chemistry issues or discomfort in terms of the offense. I think I'd rather the term discomfort. But he's got ability. He's got talent. Now, Matt Moore, we know what Matt is. Yeah. I love Matt Moore. Everybody knows I love Matt Moore. He's an aggressive quarterback. He's going to put up points. He's going to give you turnovers. As long as you're okay with the turnovers, let's ride. But I can tell you, Jay Cutler has way more polish to him, way more arm talent, way more poise to him. You have more upside with Jay Cutler. But if you're ready to start Matt Moore, understand that that's the breaking case of emergency glass. Once you break that glass and you pull that lever, the sprinklers are going off, and there's no turning back.
Right.
Your whole apartment's flooded.
Right.
So it's panic time. You're not ready, or this isn't the time to break that glass.
And I guess how long do we go? How long do we wait?
You at least wait until weeks 9, 10.
All right.
Week 9, 10. Jay Cutler's here. He's getting paid $10 million. He's Adam Gase's boy. There is no benching Jay Cutler. There wouldn't have been benching. If this would have been Ryan Tannehill and we started out the exact same way, do you think that they would be talking about benching Ryan Tannehill? No. There is no benching Ryan Tannehill. Jay Cutler is the equivalent of Ryan Tannehill. Adam Gase is married to him. They share the same bed at night. He's not instantly going to divorce him and say, hey, you know what? I don't want to be with you anymore.
Right.
He went all in on Jay Cutler, convincing the GM and the owner, give this guy $10 million. He's the one that's going to save our season. You don't just abandon that because Matt Moore's there. The backup quarterback is always going to be the most popular guy on your team, most popular guy in the locker room. And I love Matt Moore. Matt Moore, you can win with Matt Moore, but the quarterback is not the problem for the Miami Dolphins. Digest it. The quarterback is not the primary problem for the Miami Dolphins. He's one of the problems, but I can list you 10 players who I have a bigger issue with in terms of performance so far, and some of them are on defense, than I do with the quarterback.
And Jay Cutler's been bad. So what does that say about those 10 players? Take our next question from Jamie. Is it a good idea to think about bringing back Brandon Albert?
You know what? I'm a Brandon Albert fan. I am a lover of unicorns. For those who don't know, the unicorns are the offensive line that basically featured Brandon Albert, Mike Pouncey, Jawan James, all three and then Laramie Tunsil. 4 first-rounders on that line. I believe that you can win with that line. I believe that Brandon Albert would play left guard because he told me he would play left guard. Is Brandon Albert in great shape? I'm not sure about that. Does he want to play football considering he retired with the Jacksonville Jaguars? I'm not sure about that. But I would definitely be certain that I would be giving Brandon Albert a call.
Sure.
Here's the problem with the offensive line. You know they're playing poorly. The problem is you have no options.
Right. There's no depth. There's no more to go to even if
there's no depth.
No depth.
So you can't even bench a guy and demote him unless you're going to put Isaac Asiata in the game, and he's showing you he's not ready or capable of playing. You got nothing.
Hey, a couple of weeks ago, Chris Perkins and I debated about what was more important to having a successful running game, Jay Ajayi or the offensive line. I think I've won that argument.
High five.
I think I won that argument. Sorry, Perk.
Yeah, Perk.
Yeah, Perk. Next question. How do you think this offensive and defensive line will perform against Tennessee? Tennessee's a physical team. They're not playing great football right now, but they're a very physical team.
To me, they've got good pass rushers. They've got some good containment players in Brian Orakpo. It's going to be an issue for you. They have not played as well as they have the potential and capabilities of playing. But to me, that's really the biggest issue. Then you look at the defensive line. They've got some workhorses in DeMarco Murray and then Henry, the running back. It's going to be a challenge for Miami's both trench players because I don't think the defensive line, they've done a great job of stopping the run. Their focus is absolutely on containing the run, but I don't think they've faced the caliber of challenge that they're going to face moving forward. And this probably is the best challenge you're going to face before you get to Buffalo.
This is the call-out section of the show. You had said that there are 10 players that need to be better than Jay Cutler. I don't want you to have to rack your brain at all.
Oh, I could rattle them for you.
All right, well, give me at least five. The 5 players that need to play better.
Well, I'm going to start with the interior of the offensive line. I can name all 3, including Mike Pouncey. Mike Pouncey is a Pro Bowl talent player. I'm a big believer in Mike Pouncey. I wrote a column about him. He says he's going to have hip replacement surgery after his playing career is done, but right now he's feeling as good as he's felt in years. Well, I'd like you to play like it. Then you got Anthony Steen, Jesse Davis, the 2 guys battling that left guard spot. You got Jermon Bushrod. I did not see the player that I saw last year from Jermon Bushrod in the last 2 games. Julius Thomas. Horrible play. I've told you, I've warned you, it's not good, not creating separation that he needs to create, not an asset in the run blocking game. It's time that you play Anthony Fasano a little bit more. They should at least be splitting those snaps 50-50. We got Nate Allen. What's he doing out there at safety? Cornerback situation. Xavier Howard, I expected him to be playing a lot better than he has been playing. It's just not there right now. And then, you know, you can go to the defensive line. The ends. Cam Wake has got 2 sacks. Andre Branch has got 1 sack. But we expected these pass rushers to be forceful, especially on 3rd downs, and they're not. These quarterbacks have – every quarterback that the Miami Dolphins have played has had a 100-plus quarterback rating. That's not good. That's not good.
So, best player for the Dolphins first 3 games?
Oh, best player.
Best player of the Dolphins first 3 weeks. Is
best
it just
player.
Sue, just because it's always Sue?
I couldn't even name a guy. You know what? Kiko Alonso, I think, has done an admirable job. Best performance so far in terms of my personal grades, Lawrence Timmons for his 1 game that he's played. I think that Lawrence Timmons is the key for the entire defense, and I'd like to see where they go from here. But yeah, I would probably have to give it to Kiko Alonso because he's held it down from that linebacker spot.
All right. This is X's and Omar, presented by Gulfstream Park. We are live here in Hallandale Beach, battling the elements of the wind out here. If you are listening on our podcast, we apologize. It is a windy afternoon out here. But we got a group here watching the show live, and you can join us as well every week here at 1 o'clock here at Gulfstream Park. So the early part of last season, Dolphins were struggling mightily, and it was the Titans, that loss, that really sort of turned the whole season around. Afterwards, Dolphins went, of course, on to win 9 of 11 games. What makes you think that something like what happened last year can happen now? Because like you said earlier in the show, turning it around like this just doesn't happen. Dolphins almost did that last year. They almost turned it around just like that last year. So,
they did. It was really that Tennessee game that made Adam Gase say, okay, we want to run this up-tempo, fast-paced, hurry-up offense. It's not working. All right, scrap that. Let's be a run-based, play-action team. Jay Ajayi, you're my starter against Pittsburgh Steelers, and Ajayi runs for 200 and I forget how many yards. You know, and all of a sudden, the play-action, the run game, force people in the box, that opens up the deep passing game. And that established your identity. Then your defense started to get turnovers and you started to win. They've got 1 turnover in 3 games this season, and that guy's Byron Maxwell has been benched. I think that and it was the Titans. They got pushed around and bullied by the Tennessee Titans last year at home, just like this game was. I think it was week 4. And it really was a humbling experience, and the Dolphins cut 3 offensive linemen, sent a shockwave through the system of the entire team, let you know, draft pick, 3 early draft picks, gone. We're just going to play with guys who are going to do their job and do what they need to do. I don't think you're at the desperate point where you have to fire people to get the team's attention, but if you lose to the Tennessee Titans, a Tennessee Titans team that will probably not have Marcus Mariota, you're probably going to get to that desperate point, and somebody's head has got to roll.
All right, so why don't you think this? Why would a turnaround not happen at this point? Is this unfixable?
It isn't unfixable, but I think that the issues that you have are the offensive line And the fact that there are no reinforcements,
Right.
there's nobody here on the roster that can come in and
Getting
save the day.
healthier, you know, anything.
Yeah,
like that.
no. And you got to wait for Ted Larson in November to come back. But, I mean, are you realistically waiting for a guy
Season
with a
could be over
torn
by then.
biceps to save your season
Yeah.
at week 8, 9? TJ McDonald comes back, same point, week 9. But are you seriously waiting for a safety to come back? By that time, you will have more injuries and you'll be patching that team up. To me, I don't think this is as quick a turnaround as a lot of fans would hope because they don't have an offensive identity and because Todd Bowles exposed the blueprint on how to beat the Miami Dolphins. You want to beat the Miami Dolphins, dare them to throw big, put eight in the box, and stop their run. You won't stop it all the time, but you'll put enough pressure on them where they'll force themselves into making mistakes. They have to clean up their game. They have to clean up their style. They have to clean up their play. If we could just start from this point, less penalties.
Yeah.
From the offensive line, less penalties from the defensive players, you might give yourself a chance. You got to start from third downs, a better third down package. I mean, if you do anything this week, Adam Gase, work the entire week on your third down package and your red zone package because clearly it's not good enough yet. Those are things that are starting points, and I can't tell you that in 3 practices you're going to fix third down issues, red zone issues. And in fact, special teams needs to be tightened up as well.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Let's take our next
A
story
lot
question.
to fix in 1 week.
Comes from Eric. Is it time to make a change at tight end? If so, what is the answer?
I would make a change at tight end. I watched Julius Thomas very closely from OTAs till now, and I can tell you that what you're seeing on the field now is what I was seeing in April. He's slow. He's lost a step. Physically, he's not pushing anybody around on run blocking standpoint. He's probably, I can't sit here and say he's a liability, but he's not an asset pass protection standpoint. I could tell you Anthony Fasano, he's probably going to be a little bit lesser of a pass catcher, but he can give you more in the pass blocking and run blocking. If you start him right now, I guarantee you that your run game improves. And then Marquise
That's the
Gray.
key. I mean, that's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key to the season. Is getting the run game going. So why
I
wouldn't
would,
you stay?
I would swap it. I'd make Anthony Fasano my starter, and I'd use Julius Thomas as my situational tight end. And hey, throw in Marquise Gray as well, because I like Marquise Gray's cut blocking ability. He can mow people down on outside zone runs. So to me, that is the starting point. I'm demoting Julius Thomas, and I'm starting Anthony Fasano.
All right. Let's take our next question from Rob. Who is a sleeper player that can help Miami win?
I mentioned him just before, Marquise Gray. He is a tight end that is trending upwards. Keep in mind, he's a former quarterback for the University of Minnesota who spent the last 4 years evolving into a tight end. Last year, he was elevated into the number 2 spot, playing behind Deion Sims.
Yeah,
and
made some plays.
He made some plays. And I can honestly tell you, his ability to cut block surprised me. And I think that you need to add a little bit more cut blocking to your offense that can open up those corners for Jay Ajayi to make those second level runs. And to me, once you start cut blocking, you keep defenders a little bit, they're hesitating a little bit, and they're not as aggressive hitting those lanes because they can be mowed down. And to me, I think that that's a key to getting this offense going.
All right, next question from NYC Dolphins fan. Are the Dolphins regretting cutting Matt Darr because new punter Matt Hawk has been terrible?
I wouldn't say Matt Hawk has been terrible. I think he's basically being overutilized. Okay. Let's put it like that. It's hard to sit here and evaluate a guy when you're getting 10 punts a game. His average is 45.4 yards per punt. The problem is his net isn't that high. It's 37.9. Now, if he had 4 more yards, his net would be one of the league leaders.
Sure.
Am I sitting here complaining about 4 yards? No. Is it 4 times 10 and it adds up to 40 yards? Okay, it adds up.
Right.
But 4 yards, it's not really making that much of a difference. And he's put 3 punts inside the 20. And that to me is the starting point. He needs to put more punts inside the 20 to give his defense a better field position.
I got one more question for you. Last year, when this team was struggling, we really haven't talked about the receivers at all. We know how talented these guys are. Last year, we talked a lot about how
we've heard about how
when they
talented
struggled, they weren't getting open. And we said, it's not about it's as much on the receivers as it is on the offensive line. This year, do you see those guys getting open?
They're not running the routes to get open. Everything is underneath. Everything's in a 20-man box. I couldn't tell you the last time I've seen a 15-yard out. They can run it. A lot of slants for Devontae Parker. Slant and go. I don't think the routes are very creative, but I think part of the reason the routes might not be very creative is because the quarterback doesn't have the protection he needs to let routes develop. And, you know, it's the chicken or the egg syndrome.
Sure.
Is your passing game bad because your offensive line is bad, or and because your offensive line can't protect, or is your passing game bad because your quarterbacks don't, your wide receivers aren't getting open? To me, it's more on the offensive line than it is the wide receivers. But I would love to see Kenny Stills running downfield. Problem is he's got one hand. I'd love to see Jarvis Landry being more physical. Problem is he's playing with one bad knee. I'd love to see, you know, Devontae Parker completely healthy. He's coming back from, I believe it was an ankle injury. You know, all of these guys are a little bit banged up. They probably are taking less reps in practice, and that hinders continuity. So, you know, these are things that NFL teams go through. They just experience it, and you have to figure out how to get through it.
All right. Well, just like the Dolphins, both of us are struggling a little bit in picks right now. We're both 1 and 2.
I picked. I'm 2 and 1.
Oh, you did pick the
I picked
Saints?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm
I
sorry.
picked the Saints. No question about
Okay.
that.
You weren't here, so I wasn't sure. So
Yeah.
who are you taking this week?
I am taking the Miami Dolphins from this standpoint. If Matt Castle is your starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, and I fully believe that he will be because Marcus Mariota is battling that hamstring injury, I don't see an immobile quarterback who's supposed to use his mobility playing and being a factor. So either way, you're going to be playing with a quarterback who's a sitting duck. I think this is the game that Dolphins pin their ears back and aggressively hunt the quarterback. And I think the Dolphins are going to produce a 24-23 victory.
Okay, that's interesting that you would pick that score. I'm also going to take the Dolphins to win, but this is a much worse offense than they played last week, and a worse offense than they played in week 1. So I'm not going to say that the Dolphins are going to give up more points than they've given up yet this season. It's only been 20 points, and they haven't given up more than 20 points.
At some point, it's got to get out of gear too.
Yeah, I'm just going to. I think this week is just going to be a grind out, ugly, nasty. You know, people are going to be watching this saying, "Is this football? I don't know what this is."
I love it.
I'm going to take a 13-10.
Oh.
Dolphins victory this weekend over the Titans.
I love those physical trench games. I want to see a team.
Most people don't. Most people don't.
You're correct.
All
You're
right,
correct.
but they're home. At least you can see them in person this weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching Week 5 edition of X's and Omar. Remember, you can download X's and Omar on the podcast on iTunes. Just search X's and Omar on iTunes. And remember, come out and join us next week here at Gulfstream Park at 1 o'clock. We'll see you next week. All right, welcome to X's and Omar Overtime. The overtime is also presented by Gulfstream Park because we're still out here. And I want to thank all the people at Gulfstream Park because it's been another incredible week of them having us out here. It's really fun.
I
being out
missed
here.
the horses when they went.
Yeah, I thought that we were gonna get them.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey.
Anyway, all right, time to take some of your questions on Twitter. Let's see. Let's take.
Let's start with when teams. Let's start with the chat. Seth G asks, when teams stack the box against the Dolphins, why is no one blaming Adam Gase for not making adjustments? It's hard to sit there and blame Adam Gase because in each play the quarterback has either or plays. If you're going to put 8 in the box, I have an easy pass to rely on. If you're going to put 7, I have a run play to rely on. So the quarterback oftentimes decides what he's doing, and the route adjustments need to be on point. So to me, I'm not going to sit here and blame Adam Gase for, it's not like they're consistently running against 8-man boxes. They're throwing those little quick cheat screens. They're throwing the slants. It's just not really developing. And I think when you look at what Todd Bowles did and really how he exposed it is, okay, you put 8 in the box. If they're going to run, you got every man there. If they're not going to run, you're blitzing.
Right.
And it's hard to contain
when
that.
you're a bad offensive line, there's nothing you can do against.
There's nothing you can do against that. And the problem is you got to figure out a way to counter it. And I think you should spread it out. I think you should spread it. You should play 4 wides, including your tight ends and a back in the backfield. And maybe have everybody run deep and throw an outlet pass to your back and see if you can beat one-on-one coverage. Why not?
All right. Let's take our next question. Jersquall wants you to tell everybody about London.
Oh, wow. Interesting question. London was a good experience, primarily for me, because for those who follow me on social media, they'll know that I got engaged in London. It was Notting Hill is our favorite movie. It's a great opportunity. I took her to Notting Hill and proposed in front of the Blue Door. For those who are Notting Hill fans, they know what the Blue Door is. So, yes. And she said yes. That's the important part.
Congratulations. I'm pretty sure that's what he was asking about.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. London was also good. I learned, here's the important thing. I've learned how to eat in London and how to eat overseas primarily.
Okay.
Because London is such a hub for international people, it's like the European version of New York. There's going to be great Middle Eastern food. There's going to be great Brazilian food. There's going to be great Argentinian food. There's going to be great Cuban food. There's going to be great Indian food. There's a great Chinatown. Eat that stuff.
Yeah, don't go to the pubs.
No, yeah. Eat that stuff. And it was a good experience.
All right, cool. I don't think my TV station's ever going to let me go.
It is an expensive trip. And I don't know how expensive because I haven't figured out how to convert euros yet. Actually, pounds.
Right.
Are there breakdowns Gase keeps talking about happening in practice too, or just in the game? And we don't get to see practice all the time, but practice when we were seeing it was very sharp. I think if there were breakdowns happening in practice, you would see players being replaced. That's just Gase's protocol. Part of the reason why you saw Cordrea Tankersley out there starting. It's never personal with Adam Gase. If you're not performing, you're going to get benched. And I would love to see more of that happening.
I worry about it getting too personal with Julius Thomas, though.
It is, yes.
It's a personal thing. They want to keep. It feels like he gives him a longer leash.
For future reference, okay, anyway. Name the 10 players you have. Oh, I already named the 10 players I have more issues with. What's the level of concern regarding Stills' lack of production thus far? There is no concern because Stills is really the third receiver that they're actually calling plays for. He's
Not enough time to get him open. He's the burner. He's supposed to go deep. You need to give Jay Cutler 3 seconds to get him out there.
Definitely, it's an issue. Bring back the Batman voice. There is Halloween coming. We have a Halloween show.
I want the Batman voice to come back.
No, I don't. We're not saying you need to do.
One-time thing. That was polarizing.
On October 25th, it's Stranger Voice. Just be honest with people. On October 25th, we're doing Halloween costumes. Okay. Are we trying to match, or are we doing our own thing?
I think we need to have that discussion off camera.
Okay, all right. Are the high number?
Are you going to do a Wire reference again?
No. No. That was too hot of a uniform. Too out of a wardrobe. What do you think? DJL from London asked, "What do you think of Rashad Jones' play so far?" It's been average. And
That's not what they need from him, really.
I don't expect average play from the Mike Pounceys, Rashad Jones, Cameron Waits, Juwan James, Larry Tunsil. And if you're getting average play from your top players, you're not a good team. And to me, that's the number one issue that needs to be addressed.
Especially when you're getting bad play from your bad players.
Yeah, no, that's a problem as well. That's a problem as well.
Fins up. Do the Dolphins have any team chemistry issues? Is everyone still buying what Adam Gase is selling?
I don't think they're not buying what Adam Gase is selling. I think that there's a leadership issue, whereas maybe everybody's looking towards a quarterback to sort of rally the team and step it up, and Jay Cutler has a laissez-faire kind of attitude. I have heard about him and his attitude, primarily when things aren't going well. I hadn't seen them early on, and I was patiently waiting. But I can tell you right now, I do see it. Things that people said about him that don't care. Jay Cutler is there. The Jay Cutler who's ultra sensitive is there, and he doesn't like being blamed for what's going on. The problem is he's not going to throw anybody under the bus yet. But you would love to see him step up and be more of a leader to this team. They're new guys. They're all strangers. They don't know him. But it doesn't set the right tone when your quarterback's just...
All right. What's your take on the Wildcat play? First off, what was the call? Why was that? And secondly, Cutler just standing out.
There's got to be a motion. The quarterback is always a decoy, so he should have been on the line of scrimmage. Maybe Kenny Stills wouldn't have had the penalty. Okay, it didn't work. Maybe they didn't practice it well enough. Is he going to do anything? Is he going to block anybody? Absolutely not. But my biggest issue with the Wildcat play, outside of him standing 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, was the fact that teams, you usually run a jet sweep in the Wildcat to create misdirection. There was no jet sweep. So it was really just a running play with a back who's not going to throw the ball. I didn't get it.
Yeah, if you want to run the Wildcat with Jarvis.
Yeah.
You know, Jarvis and Jay.
Absolutely.
Then I like that.
That would make more sense. I just thought it was a poorly executed play. But, of course, it sits in the Jay Cutler don't care category because he was standing there like, don't care. Yeah.
Almost like he was angry that the play was called.
I'm sure they worked on it.
Maybe.
Yeah, they wouldn't have called anything they didn't work on.
Yeah, okay. What else you got? Anything else from the YouTube?
Nope, that's about it.
Okay, that's all the good questions that we have also from Twitter. So thank you, everyone. Wait, you guys have anything for us this week?
I have a quick question.
Yeah, hit us, Mike.
Would you like to see, we saw some nice things in preseason with Jakeem Grant. Can you get him a few touches?
Well, the question is, Jakeem Grant looked great in the preseason. Does he need more touches?
Jakeem Grant's hurt right now. If Jakeem Grant was healthy, I mean, he got his punt return job taken away just because of the ankle injury. If I'm not going to have the guy do the primary job that I have him for, why would I add routes to his equation as well? Jakeem really won a lot of people over, not necessarily me, and was impressive during the preseason game. I'm just not necessarily certain that's going to translate against first-team defenders.
Fair enough. That's this week's edition of X's and Omar. Thank you so much for watching. Come out and join us next week here at Gulfstream Park, and you can ask your questions to Omar and myself live here in person. Thanks for watching.